Howdy, 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 my name is Anachi Sasuke. Welcome back to Let's Read Lackadaisy. In the last episode, let's see. We got to see some... Well, I don't know if that happened last episode. I know that something that definitely happened last episode was Mitzi taking a blank check from Wick's checkbook, and then also them having a fight over pearls with this one crazy dude. So, I hate him for knowing I'd stick around because she'd stick around, you know? Alice had a talent for collecting strays, I must admit. All of us just the right kind of desperate. And he was some sort of solid ground, but now we're stranded, trying to live on the memory vapor. Bound to wink out any minute. Why doesn't anyone else know we'll disappear along with it? I gotta get out of here, Virgil. As soon as I find the volition to stand up. I'm so thirsty. Well, you've listened to me moan. The least I can do is offer you some of this watered-down swill if you... Yes! Yes! Okay, hold on. I don't want your bloody drool all over this. We'll need an alternate approach. What's the rumpus, boys? We heard about some idiots involved in a scuffle all over this shopkeeper's doorstep, so we hurried on over. I'm glad we made it in time for cocktail hour. You want to hand over the flask and give me the idiot story about what you're doing here? Well, nope. I'm not going to bother trying to explain this. Ah! Alright, you're just making a bigger problem for yourself, son. Nope. You can do simple subtraction in your head, can't you? I'm solving the problem, see? Now there's no problem left, except the proximity of your ugly face, son. Something as innocuous as a hip flask wouldn't generally get you arrested during Prohibition. Apparently the usual was to simply confiscate it depending on the circumstances and the officer involved. Public drunkenness or something resembling it could certainly get you in some trouble, though. Ow, my face! Well, I suppose if you're going to be arrested, you should make sure you deserve it. On the bright side, I should be able to post bail for us both with the pocket change I had on me, Virgil. Well, that's interesting. On top of everything else, a bench warrant for Dorian Zabowski. We picked you up at Hop House some time ago. You didn't make your court date. I probably overslept. Look, he's doing more math in his head over there. You still figure you had enough cash money to cover your expenses? You had cash on him? What cash? On a separate note, I'm headed to the races on my day off, fellas. Ha ha ha! Ha ha ha! Oh, you wags! Oh, goodness. I hate everybody. Well, you might as well make the best of it and cool your heels some then. You aren't liable to find a judge to arraign you until after the holiday weekend anyway. You'll get your money back though. Won't he, boys? Assuming it's on the level, that is. You look down on your luck. Does it show? We're like twins! I wanted to reference one of St. Louis' old station houses for this. There's a bevy of building exterior photos to be found, but I ran into a great deal of difficulty finding era-specific interior photos. Instead, it's based on a mishmash of references, so I suppose it's no place in particular. What I mean is, it's a little suspicious someone carrying that much cash around looking like that. Yeah, well, it may not look like it, but I am gainfully employed. Doing what? I provide people with noise from a saxophone. It's my one redeeming quality. Oh, does the word marigold mean anything to you? You on that payroll by chance? What? No. How we jump to the conclusion that I work at a gin joint? Where else is a scruffy go-ahead hornblower find employment around here? Okay, someone else does math in his head too. Anyway, I doubt I'd meet their dress code. Is my lip bleeding again, or am I just that pretty? Gah! Oh, look at that, from the vanquished empire, huh? I thought that place was but a distant memory. I'm curious, is it still actually limping along, or did you just forget to take this off? Oh, that? Is that all? I don't know what you're talking about, but, well, every gambler has his favorite suit. This one hasn't been so lucky for me lately, though, or I wouldn't be here talking to you, officer, or is it detective? Neither. But you flatter me. I'm just sharing office space with the best and brightest over there. Dom Drago, I'm with the Treasury Department. Wow, this just keeps getting better. Tell you what, we can pretend that, for now, that you're a good little taxpayer, not a sax player. Trust me, I've got much bigger fish to fry. See you around? God, I hope not, but thanks for being the only one not to hit me or attempt to rob me this evening. Pleasure was all mine. You're too kind. I do my best. Yep, well, stay out of trouble. Damn it. There goes the Lackadaisy pin. It may or may not be somewhat common knowledge at this point since it's been covered numerous times in popular media, but the Bureau of Prohibition was part of the Department of the Treasury. More specifically, it was initially part of the IRS, becoming its own bureau within the Treasury Department by 1927. During the span of Prohibition, it employed about 1,500 to 2,500 shabbily paid agents to investigate illicit alcohol trade and enforce the 18th Amendment across the nation. It was later moved to the Justice Department, then to the FBI. It exists in a transmogrified capacity as the ATF these days. Wonder what that is. Meanwhile, Defiance is a pretty bold name for a cornfield mosquito ranch in the middle of nowhere. You sure this is the place Victor told you about? Sure as a goose in galoshes. That is, he shouldn't have punched me in the head if he expected me to remember everything he said. Oh, well, galoshes would be nice. We're sitting in a creek or something. Oh, what's that? Well, Pagora, there's a proper ferryman if I ever saw one. There aren't any ferries here. Ugh, there's a lot of stupid cicadas. Okay, what did you find? A weed lump with a door? It's an old spring house. I'd wager it's a hiding place to boot. How very mysterious. And speaking of which, how did I get your crazy cousin to talk to me? Ask about the Cardinals. Or the Browns, or... No, I mean, how do I slice into the juicy core where all the dark secrets and turmoil and interesting stuff is? Poking around dark corners is liable to stir up some unpleasantness, Miss Pepper. Now, if only I could see, illumination. I must have moonbeams in my eyes. And I see our Shirley Slovak was sincere after all, Rocky! Such a sparkling stockpile of spirit should satisfactorily supplant that insufferable swill we serve. Ha ha! Miss M will be these days, Defiance is just about the closest thing Eastern Missouri has to wine country. It's a very picturesque place, in fact, but it's also host to a whole lot of corn and bugs. Ice boxes would have been common in homes at the time, but spring houses were an old-fashioned rural means of refrigeration. Usually there were small stone buildings constructed on top of running water, which kept the interior of the building cool. Here's a photo of one on the Daniel Boone property in Missouri. Let's check it out. Oh! That's nice. What's another good S word? Smack. Oh. Hello there! Hi! This must be your weed lump. I suppose you're wondering why I'm taking it apart. Well, appearances aren't what they appear to be. See, we were just admiring the corn. Then your rock wobbled, so I... Can we cut to the chase? To whom it may concern in the scary vehicle, please pardon my rambling companion. Your corn is very charming, and the variety of bug bites one might acquire here is truly impressive. But let's not dwell on niceties, cause we need booze. Ah! I don't think they were going to give them booze. Also, this is the fact that the glass and the rock did nothing to that car. Go! Corn! Corn! Lackadaisy corpse lights. No! Why isn't this corn tall enough? This is terrible corn! Barn! Barn! Oh, no! Why does this barn have car-sized holes in it? This barn is useless! Well, except for all the pointy things. Oh, look! We found more corn! Oh! It's not very good corn. It's possible I've made the situation slightly worse. Clunk. Ooh. Oh ho ho. I hope you enjoyed that because it's the last time... Or who's saying that? It's the last time you're driving the hearse, you ordained maniac. Damnation, I couldn't stop. What did we hit? Irrigation pipes, tires are gone too. Look what you did to the bloody fender. Rocky? Rocky, where? Oh, sugar beets. Lackadaisy haymaker. Oh, is it called a haymaker, or did they just say haymaker because Rocky's kind of like... Oh boy, I don't want to be around when your stupid, terrible good luck runs out. Okay, you're free. We gotta go. Come on, open your eyes. There. Well, just don't lay there with your eyes open. Come on. Come on. That was not especially helpful, sorry. Thump. Right, at least you're thorough, Abelard. That's 4 tires, Rex. There's a long walk home in our future. Let me put this pipeline back together first. Did you see which direction they vanished in? No, I lost track when my life started flashing before my eyes on the downhill. But don't worry, I'm sure they've scurried off with the fear of the Holy Ghost in them. Or at least the fear of unhinged clergy in large automobiles. Well, I thought I just heard voices. Just now? I figured you'd be hearing them all along. Oh, hey, a gun. Why would they just leave that there in an open car? Blimey! Blimey, it got one after all. That's one way to save a soul. Run them over before they have a chance to... Enough, I didn't mean to hit him. You had me fooled still. That's what it comes to. On the upside, he'd make a right proper scarecrow. Hey! Don't you hurt him! Seems a bit late for that. This is yours, is it? Yes, he's not dead, is he? Well, I tried that already. What do you propose I do then? Wake him with a gentle kiss? I'm not sure I want to. It's one less of you high school jelly beans I have to worry about slicking around out here trying to raid our stores. Hey, I'm in college, and I'm not sure he ever actually went to school. It doesn't matter, you have no idea the trouble you could get us in. But we're buyers, not slinkers. You might have known if you weren't so eager to run us down. Look, can I be any clearer? You're being here as a problem, and did you just steal that gun out of the car? Yep. Petulant child. Well, give it back. Do you even know how to use that? It's not that hard to use a gun. Yes! Give me that right now and go away from here. No! You don't sound too certain. You should probably just hand it over. No, I mean, yes. I mean, what I mean is I know how to... You, child, are you listening to me? Don't back away from the glim. Don't you know it's but a weak and threadbare skin that holds back the wicked troubled sea in every soul? And it takes but one iniquitous choice to tear a rent in it. Give me the gun. Give it to me! Gah! Because in that sea there's no surface, no chance of unburdening breath, no vindicating sun, and every stumble and misdeed at merit may thereafter in that bitter deep is another hot iron ring around your neck to speed your descent into the boiling black abyss. Okay, well, she just tried to shoot him. Gah! You're like a giant spider! Don't do that! But, hellfire. He does look like a giant spider, but don't take it out on the hearse. We need that! Well, you don't grow up around a bunch of scoundrel bootleggers without learning how to shoot, do you? Should I keep shooting things? I mean it! I mean, what will it take to convince you we're on the same side? Well, not that. Maybe that. I don't know! I've never had anything that squeaky pull a gun on me before. Alright. If it'll momentarily stop you putting more holes and dents in my livelihood, just which scoundrel bootleggers are we talking about? Religious revivals weren't high in the United States in the 1920s. The tide of moralism that had helped enact prohibition had waned while the country was enjoying certain prosperity. Popular preachers like Billy Sunday still embodied much of that spirit of fiery evangelism, though. This dialogue here is a little more reminiscent of 18th century Jonathan Edwards' brand Fire and Brimstone in any case. Arterial fluid? You aren't cutting the liquor with this stuff, are you? That was the problem with our last supplier. What's this, an organ pulper? I thought you guys were in the booze business. What do you need all these morbid doohickeys for? Well, we're in the death business too. There's some amount of overlap. What's this, a bloodsucker? Yes. Bobby, what sort of trouble are you dragging into the house now? Roadkill, courtesy of your brother. Trifling problem, though. My trade requires this to be rather more dead than it seems to be. It keeps bleeding. What's the poor thing doing down here, then? I didn't want to ruin the parlor upholstery, and I figure if he wakes up on an embalming table, we could all just have a good long laugh about the whole situation. So, maybe you can put his head back together? As I originally posted here... let's see what that is. Okay, then. Alcohol was big business in the 1920s, of course, but so was death in many ways. Around the turn of the century, funerals and wakes were still traditionally held in the home, but by the 1920s, the trend was changing, and funeral homes were becoming the more common location for such services. Also, it's not an organ pulper, it's embalming equipment. Elsa, she's a nurse. former nurse. I met her overseas just after the war. I had trench foot and she had a hotsy-totsy little... What's your name, dear? Ivy. The mangled one is Rocky. I'll see what I can do to fix that. We had to shoulder him back here, but it was the only thing to do, Elsa. It seems we have a pair of Lackadaisy emissaries on our hands. The ship went down with the captain last I knew, but she says Victor Vasco sent them. Victor? Really? Why didn't he come himself? How is he? Well, better than this one at this very moment, but slightly indisposed, you could say. I still don't understand who would send, maybe because I do such a good impersonation. The reason actually is because I'm a Pepper, Ruby Pepper's girl. My dad and Atlas go way back, you know? When I was a kid, my dad had some business with Atlas, he'd sometimes take me alone to St. Louis, to the Lackadaisy. It was like being royalty. Everyone was so nice to me, I guess because Atlas was my godfather. Anyway, now I'm grown, I've decided to stay there. I see. Well, I'm sorry for what happened to Atlas. He was difficult to read, but he always had a mild, soft-spoken way about him. Soft-spoken and positively Machiavellian. It was a no-holds-barred situation when he had Victor and the other one along. Who, Mordecai? When they were all here? She probably was happier than that, but my pitch can only go so high for Ivy. Apologies. Many times. Especially in these early days when Volstead was the newest craze and Atlas was carving out a foothold. Contrarily, our post-mortem services were a bit slower to catch on in the wild. Profit was a pittance, but all Atlas saw was the halo of potential. See, these hinterlands are doubly blessed with a dearth of law enforcement and an MKT rail depot. Atlas, likely with the aid of your dad, did some string pulling to make sure the train arrived burdened with bottles, old log cabin, Cuban rum, the real McKays. I bet it's paying for that higher education of yours now. Anyway, as you seldom get a sideways look loading long boxes off a train and into a hearse, it was our place to pick it up and store it for a broker's percentage. We were altogether proud of the brilliance in this little arrangement, until some local cattle rustling train robbing rabble figured on liquor being easier to rustle, and chaps like us being easier to rob, and that they did. They shot our organ player. It was right about then Atlas first brought Lefty and Righty up here to sort things out. It would probably be in your better interest to stop screaming and start enunciating, while we can still hear you. Talk, yes. They just sat themselves down at the one general store in town and played chess until, inevitably one of those roughnecks showed up needing supplies. He was understandably reticent concerning the whereabouts of his mates, but discovered he had a good many things to discuss from the interior of a preoccupied pine box. Oh, jeez. That's when things got really interesting. It turned out this lot was playing cowboys and gangsters with some boys from the city, peddling to them what they stole from us. This city gang, some Sicilians or something. Well, Atlas happened to know they were in the midst of a turf war with a then blossoming establishment you might know as Marigold. And there was this lodge up in the hills where... Don't tell her these awful stories, Bobby. It's a bloody good story. Besides, she almost blew us away earlier. I mean, you know what's what, don't you? Of course I... Tell me more! The MKT Missouri, Kansas, Texas is more commonly known as the Katy Railroad. Defiance did have a depot, but it was minuscule, and a few photos of it existed. A few photos as it existed in 1920 seem to be available. The structure here is actually styled more after the St. Charles MKT depot. It too has been long defunct, but exists in a restored state in Frontier Park as one of the area's dwindling sentimental reminders of just how integral the railroads once were to American life and business. Alright. What was I getting at? Oh! The lodge tucked back here in the nowhere. The country mice and the city mice have been meeting there to make their exchanges. Newly privy to that, Atlas decided he'd make a rather bold gesture of confronting our nuisance and doing Marigold an unsolicited favor. In a business of bitter enemies, it doesn't hurt to make a friend, yeah? Anyway, in that spirit, the captive cattle thief was returned to his friends. You just gonna stand there on the threshold? Behind me? Behind me? Where the hell have you been? You smell like death. With a souvenir from the war. Then Victor and Mordecai made their way through the place like a minor tornado. Victor was something of a remnant from the war himself. I like how he's got the little glasses on for this, that's great. Was that a shotgun? Mordecai uses a double-barrel shotgun? And Mordecai, well, come to think of it, he couldn't have been much older than you at the time. Really now. Mordecai was just a college kid with a double-barrel shotgun blowing dudes away? Dang. MK1 and MK2 time fused fragmentation grenades were a product of the Great War. It probably goes without saying the war spurred a myriad of weapon technology advancements. Many of those new weapons, most famously the Thompson submachine gun, and surplus arms have subsequently made their way, one way or another, into the culture of crime stirred up by the National Prohibition. He had an early start, though, supposedly still in knee pants when he began keeping books for grifters and gamblers in New York. But things must have soured for him there. Atlas said when he crossed his path, he was looking rather worse for wear, riding a getaway train toward Chicago or Detroit with some deeply unhappy associates on his heels. Okay, so somebody's trying to shoot whoever that is, but Mordecai's already up here. It wouldn't surprise me to learn that, left to his own agencies, he'd brought the troubles on himself. For all his qualifications with books and odds and percentages and what, he'd always been about as personable as a bespectacled barbed wire post, and likely tallied up more enemies than friends. I've heard it said some long ago incident left a little bit of lead rattling about his cranium and carved him that wonky streak. Looks like it may have been this then. Yeah, there's some blood happening. Interesting. Oh, he just went down the stairs. Yep, that looks like there's blood on him, and that might be from when yep. But I never had the gall to ask him myself if that was true. I can tell you, Atlas didn't see the, personality problem as a problem so much as a facility worth fostering, however. I gotta say, one of my favorite sound effects is for people following has got to be wood. It's just a pretty great sound. So as the story I know goes, Atlas settled some of his pursuing grievances, gave him the veritable shirt off his back, placed him on his feet, sent him to work, and from what I gather, the boy had been learning fast. As evidenced by him just impaling this dude with a piece of the frickin' stairs. Okay. I meant to do that. Get out now! Oh, damn. Victor, I figured for a more a bundle of nerves than a crack brain. If he was anything like my mates, the ones who weren't numbed or shell-shocked, he'd gone home from the front and back to work resembling electric wire with all the sheathing stripped off. And that must have made whatever labor conflict erupted around him into something of a powder keg situation. Because he didn't waste any time barreling into some political turmoil, the sort that comes to blows. As I understand it, the dock workers faction of the great unwashed he'd settled in with through an unhappy party when Palmer raids cost them some union leaders. The strikebreakers and the authorities arrived uninvited, of course, and they all had themselves a great big row. As he just catches the tire iron and punches the crap out the guy. That's how he lost the eye, tossing the constabulary about like ragdolls. It took a well-aimed pry bar to put that fire out long enough that they could subdue him. Or so Atlas recounted. Whatever business he had at the riverfront that day was superseded by the event, so he joined the spectators. Oh, God! Victor's performance must have left an impression, as Atlas went to some trouble turning up a lawyer for him. One who held aloft Victor's national service against his former countrymen, no less, to allay any silly ideas he represented some foreign breed of anarchist monster. Okay, so apparently in the Great War he defected from Russia to help the United States? And now he's just setting dudes on fire! It must have worked, because his little sojourn to prison was cursory compared to some others. Afterwards, he reunited with Atlas to work off the debt. By the time his indenture was up, well, I suppose he'd crossed some lines into no man's land, without any prospects ahead of him or much remaining of whatever he had left behind. All fiction, of course, except for the Palmer raids, which were something of an extension of the Red Scare and a brand of xenophobia stoked by the Great War. In 1919 and 1920, under then Attorney General Alexander Palmer, thousands of individuals were arrested, detained, and in some cases deported, often for mere association with leftist organizations. Also, sources indicate moonshine burns with a much bluer flame, but that would have conflicted too much with the comic's warm palate. He stayed on with Atlas where he had some place and purpose, And lucky for us, T. He'd been most of the muscle behind the momentum that got us off and running in those early years. Thank you. Oh, Victor had his glasses. And with that, the fray at the lodge was more a proper slaughter. Atlas got his lost liquor back, well, most of it. Made off with our robbers' would-be profits and a small fleet of dead men's vehicles, too. Did Atlas even join the fight, or did he just sort of show up after all the murder happened? After that, Mordecai followed Atlas back to the city like his ferocious little shadow. At the Marigold Room, Atlas busied himself leveraging goodwill with an old acquaintance among the management, as well as indulging some personal interests. I do believe that's where he met his wife. Victor stayed with us a while, accompanying us on pickups, and keeping that one eye on things around here in case we had any trouble with lingering loose ends. What trouble we had was little trouble indeed, the Reverend and I, but... Oh, for the love... Stop talking! Well, you'll do business with us again, then! Oh, no! Good God! No, no, no! And that's probably a good stopping point. I wanted to make it through, like, the rest of the story before I stopped, instead of just, like, cutting the story short, because that would have been weird. That's what I did for Ava's Demon by accident. I don't want to do that with Lackadaisy. So, this has been Anachi Sasuke. This is episode 7 of Let's Read Lackadaisy. In the next episode, we're going to see how Rocky getting his head put together is going to work out. So, if you liked it, a like and a subscribe will be groovy. If you didn't, you don't need to do either one of those things. And I will see y'all in the next one. Also, before I forget, there will be a link in the description to the comic, as well as the Patreon page, so you can support Tracy Butler in making the comic. So, thanks again, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Later.